have an ambition? Trust your instincts. Move forward. This is your moment to shape your future, to be independent, to strengthen yourself. Your time is now. Accelerate your progress. Empowering your progress for a fulfilled life. Union Assurance.
I'm Shiyani, founder of The Wine Consultant, and I will be answering Living's questions today.
Hi Shiyani, welcome to Living Gets Real. It's a pleasure to have you with us in the studio today.
Hi Tanya, thanks for having me.
Alright, so The Wine Consultant, let's get into that. So someone who has spent over a decade in the wine sector, you said it's been 10 years, right? What first drew you to the beverage and inspired you to build a career around it?
Well, I think I've always enjoyed wine, though I wouldn't say that I knew everything there was to know about it. But I had the opportunity to participate in my first ever wine dinner back in 2014. And for me, that was the pivotal point, because the beauty of how food and wine go so well together and how wine can elevate a culinary experience was really what drew me to it. Shortly after that, I had the good fortune to get to work in a wine import and distribution company. That particular company did value education a lot, and I had the opportunity to pursue my wine education through that job, and as well as travel and see a lot of different vineyards and wine producing countries. And so I pursued the Wine and Spirit Education Trust wine curriculum, which is, I would call it the SIM or SIMA of wine. So it's a really interesting curriculum, and the more I studied and learned about wine, the more passionate I became. And about 3 years into the job, I realized that this is something I really wanted to pursue in the long term. And almost a decade later, I started my own company, which is The Wine Consultant.
Great, very, very interesting. Okay, so having toured famed wine regions, which you just mentioned, across the world, which experience left the most lasting impression on you, and most importantly, why?
That's a tough one, because I think each and every experience in these different regions and countries have resonated in very different ways for me. But since I need to pick one, I would say it was visiting a winery called Perez Balta, which is in Penedès in Spain. Now this is a family-owned and run winery, which is in its third generation of ownership, female winemakers, they're organic and biodynamic producers. And for me, what has stood out in terms of a memory that I've taken with me since 2018 when I visited was that I was with Marta, the winemaker. She took us to this particular site at the vineyard, which was overlooking where cava grapes are grown. So cava is a Spanish sparkling wine. And she cracked open a bottle of cava, and we enjoyed the bottle while looking out over the vineyards. Then she took us on a tour of this estate, which is entire farming philosophy is based on organic and biodynamic principles. And then we went into the winery and we did a full tasting of the entire collection. And I spent the entire day with them and their families and understanding their winemaking philosophy. And I'd say for me is one particular vineyard visit, that's the one that stood out the most, Perez Balta in Penedès, Spain.
Sounds like a scene out of a movie.
It was a full circle moment for me, because that wine dinner I told you about that kind of really drew me to wine. That wine dinner featured their wine. So it was a real full circle moment for me to have had that first initial experience with food and wine, being Perez Balta wines, and then being in Perez Balta visiting them and understanding how they do what they do and how they produce their wines. It was a really beautiful moment.
So, wow moment.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Okay, so since wine is often seen as exclusive, how are you working to make it more approachable and relatable to Sri Lankans?
I think I'm drawing on my first-hand experience, being a Sri Lankan who started learning about wine and who studied wine, and really making people understand that there is a wine out there for everyone, because it's a very, very diverse beverage. It comes in all different styles and taste profiles. And so the other approach that I like taking is that understanding that the frame of reference, when we talk about wine, like how a wine tastes or how a wine smells, it's a very Western frame of reference. So for example, if I'm doing a wine appreciation program or I'm tasting wine with hospitality teams, it's not me telling them you should be smelling stone fruit in this Chardonnay, as an example. It's really trying to draw from them what it is they're smelling, because if you lived and grew up in Sri Lanka, let's say, your frame of reference is not going to include things like stone fruit, which is like peaches and apricots. We didn't grow up eating that, living and being raised in Sri Lanka. So for me, I want them to start to trust their own palates. And if they tell me they're smelling rambutan and mangosteen, that's not wrong. That is very accurate in terms of their own frame of reference and how they relate it to wine. Because essentially what we're trying to do is understand and describe a beverage in a sense that it makes it sound familiar and understandable to a person who doesn't know about it. But if you try to force a certain thought process and I say, no, you should be smelling stone fruit, someone's not going to necessarily relate to that. So I think the first step is understanding that the frame of reference is Western, and it's okay that you don't immediately understand or pick up those references. Make it your own, because your own personal experiences are what you can draw from. And then they sit more comfortably with the fact that, okay, I don't necessarily know what peaches and apricots smell like, but I know what sort of aroma profiles I am experiencing in this glass. And then you can build on that for them to have a deeper understanding and appreciation. So the first step is really allowing people to trust their own palates, and then they can start developing and building on that.
So you were talking about training hospitality teams, right?
Yeah.
So while training them, how do you make the session both fun to learn and practical enough to apply right away?
So I think it's a lot of sort of making it interactive. It's not just me sitting there and telling them this is what wine is and this is how it's made. There is that element of it because I have to, of course, share the knowledge. But it's really drawing from them because they have more experience than I do in terms of serving people and working in restaurants or in hotels. So it's really drawing on their own experiences and helping them sort of navigate through real life scenarios like fussy clients or people who don't know what they want or like, how to navigate if the customer says, oh, this wine is not good and I don't like it. So really applying real life hospitality scenarios, doing role play, making it very interactive. When we do tastings, I try to sort of curtail me telling them, like I said before, what they should be tasting and really sort of garner out of them what they're experiencing, because that helps them to understand that it's okay that they don't know certain things. They can start to learn that, but they need to start to understand their palates, and then they can build on that in terms of getting the knowledge. And then the main thing is to give them the confidence more than anything else. What I feel is people are reluctant because they think they don't know, because the path that they need to know in terms of a grape variety or a region, for example, it can be taught. But confidence in knowing what they're selling, what they're talking about is something that has to come from within. So it's really sort of meeting them where they are and sort of building them up is really the approach I like to take.
I like the bit about the fussy clients and how to deal with them, I suppose.
It's everywhere, right?
Yes. Okay, so the last question in this segment, right? What goes into creating immersive wine events that captivate guests and build a lasting brand loyalty?
So I think it has a lot to do with intent, having intention behind what you're doing. Like people will ask me to organize a wine tasting. But for me, it's not just about tasting wine. It's about understanding, say for example, the venue, if it's a restaurant, what kind of cuisine, what kind of clientele, who is your audience, what sort of demographic. Not just about me standing in front of a group of people and telling them what they should be smelling and tasting, but taking them on this journey, making it an immersive experience. I can't take them to the winery, but I can create that and evoke that emotion of what it's like to walk through those vineyards and understand the soil types, understand what kind of climatic conditions that these grapes are grown in, and what sort of winemaking philosophies those winemakers may have used to create this wine, because it's really a living, breathing, evolving product. So it's something that, there's so much geography and history and science and agriculture that goes into it. So it's a really diverse and interesting project. So for me, the experience has to be that they walk away from that knowing a little bit more than they did before, but at the same time having evoked some sense of emotional connect to what they've tasted. And it's really a lot of storytelling and building up that sense of place and, where the wine comes from that really makes it different.
All right, so we've come to the end of segment 1.
Okay.
We have a little trivia for you on the other side.
Dear.
So we will see you soon.
All right, thank you.
The latest issue of LMD International is available at lmdmall.lk. You can also access the digital version on Press Reader, Maxter, our social media platforms and WhatsApp.
Hi Shiyani, so welcome back to segment 2 of the show. And we have a little wine trivia for you.
Okay.
So we have some questions about wine. Okay, let me start with an easy one, right?
Okay.
What type of wooden barrel are usually used to age wine?
Oak, and its origins can differ: American, French, Hungarian, and so on.
Okay, you got it right. What is the name of the largest wine bottle which holds a massive 30 liters of wine?
Oh my goodness, this is a really tough one. I off the top of my head, I really can't remember. They have biblical names.
Correct. That's the same thing that came.
Yeah, they're all biblical names, and there's so many. I want to say
Starts with M.
Meduchaznaza. I'm not sure if I...
Melchizedek.
Is it?
This is according to Google.
Okay.
So which US state consumes the most wine by volume?
California.
All right. What is the most expensive bottle of wine ever sold?
If I'm not mistaken, it would have been a bottle of Romani Conti, and that was probably at an auction.
Yes, in 2018 for $558,000 US.
Yep.
It's a lot of money.
It is indeed. And that's wine for you.
Okay, so which country is a leading wine producer of the world?
Italy, in terms of volume.
What is an amphora?
So it's basically a clay pot, a large clay vessel that they used to, in the past they used to use it to transport wine, but now some more progressive producers like to use it as part of their aging process.
All right, which country consumes the most wine in the world by volume? The country.
I think it's the UK? No?
It says the US and France is second.
Okay, because...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Interesting.
Okay, so approximately how many grapes go into a bottle of wine?
600 to 800 grapes.
All right, spot on. In which country was the corkscrew invented?
Oh dear, that's a good trivia question. I don't know that actually. Which country invented?
England. The first reference of a corkscrew appeared in a museum of catalogue in 1681.
I'm learning something new.
Okay, so this is a true or false question.
Okay.
Globally, more red wine is consumed than white wine. True or false?
That's a tricky one. I'd say it's true for Sri Lanka, but globally, I'd say it's false.
It's true.
It's true.
It's
Okay.
true globally.
Really? Okay.
Okay, the last question, and this is also something to do with a biblical reference.
Oh dear.
Who is the patron saint of winemakers? Apparently, there's a patron saint. for
Really? I
winemakers.
did not know that. I probably should, being Catholic, but you'll have to enlighten me.
Saint Vincent.
Saint Vincent.
Yeah.
Okay, patron saint of winemaker.
I know.
I probably should have known this one.
All right, we've come to the end of segment 2. Thank you for being on the show with us. You've enlightened us on very, very different things. And we've enlightened ourselves, I think, with the second segment with this.
You've enlightened me. My goodness, I had no idea some of those.
All right, thank you again, Shiyani, for being on the show. And we wish you all the very best in your career. And we hope to see much more wine tastings in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was a really fun afternoon. There you have it. These are my answers to the questions and the game. Be sure to check Living's Instagram and Facebook pages for the latest episodes of Living Gets Real.